we go.
I have 4 o'clock, so I would like to call the meeting to order. Carrie, could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Cade,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Kelly,
Here.
Commissioner Oakes,
Here.
Commissioner Ertley,
Here.
Commissioner Schreiber,
Here.
Commissioner Sloan Buchanan. Here. All present.
Thank you, Carrie. Will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on our agenda is public and employee comments. We have Human Resources Director Allison Jubb introducing our new employee. And WIS personnel. Allison?
Is that on now?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Well, thank you, commissioners, and I am really excited to introduce our newest member of the administration team, Autumn Head. Autumn's right here. She joined us on the 16th of September, and you approved to hire an HR generalist, and she is amazing. She is not disappointing. She has a lot of experience. She comes with 17 years of experience, over 17 in both office administration and management, including finance, accounting, as well as HR. Most recently, she was at Precision Concrete here in Stanwood, and we were very fortunate to pull her away from there. Before that, she's some of these names might ring a bell. She was an office manager and HR assistant at All Things HR, and she was also involved in the South Snohomish County Chamber of Commerce, and was on the board of directors for the Linwood Chamber of Commerce. And she is an amazing person. In the short time that she's been here, she has just been digging in, and I mean, it's every day I'm like, whoa. So she's going to be amazing, and I really love her special touch with how she is focused really on the employees. Does this make sense to them? How can we help them? What can we do there? So it's just been a joy to have her, and just like to welcome her to North County Regional Fire Authority. So welcome. I promise no speeches, so no speeches. Right. So, I have another introduction to make, if that's all right. Do you want me to proceed with another introduction with Mr. Ralph Fry? We're good? Yep. Okay. All right. So I have a couple of important folks to introduce from Northwest Incident Support. The first, and some of you may all know him, some of you may or may not know him, so I thought it would be good to bring him up here and just have a chance to learn who he is. So Ralph Fry has been the executive director in the past of the Northwest Incident Support, but he stepped back some 6 years ago from that leadership position. He got into fire chaplaincy in the mid-'80s, so he's been involved in it for quite a long time and had a lot of experience. Moved to Stanwood in 2002 and was working with the chaplaincy service here with fire and police in Arlington. And then at the request of the chiefs, he actually went ahead and started up Northwest Incident Support, including, I understand, the very first training happened right here in this room. So there you go, small world. But he did step back, like I said, 6 years ago, but he has stepped back into leadership for about 3 months as an interim director while they sought out and have hired a new executive director. So I'm going to just briefly talk about him, and certainly Ralph is going to come up and he may have a few other things to share. But Brett is right there. There we go. Brett is the new executive director for Hope Unlimited, which includes the Northwest Incident Support as a component of it. He has many years of pastoral experience, including most recently, he was the executive pastor of the Camino Chapel. Lots of teaching, coaching, consulting experience as well that he brings to the role. So we're very excited that you've selected a wonderful person. And I just want to call up Ralph, if I could, and he has just a few minutes he'd like to share with a few things going on with Northwest Incident Support. So,
Just a quick
Thank you,
note.
Allison.
yes.
Just a quick note for any of our speakers here this evening. Our commissioners who are joining online, that microphone is not doing anything to broadcast your voice to them. So you're going to want to do what you can to speak loud and clear. It's this TV that is picking up the microphone for our remote commissioners. The microphone is simply a tool that's broadcasting you on our YouTube.
Do you want me to start over? No, just kidding. Okay, just kidding. Okay, there you go.
Project well.
Well, 64 years of ministry, I have no problem speaking up. And 4 or 5 minutes is a challenge for a guy who's done this all these years. Thank you so much for this opportunity to update you on Hope Unlimited and Northwest Incident Support, which are one entity. And thank you for your support over the years. We started in 2005 in this room, as she said, as Allison said, and every month after that, training, and the program grew, and it was first, the beginning days, it was called Stanwood Camino Incident Support, but we were traveling to the far reaches of the Arlington Fire District as well, so it became Northwest Incident Support. Today, this is just an update, so I'll just touch on some things. Our mission is the same as it was in the beginning, and that is to be a ministry of presence, providing emotional first aid to people who are going through a traumatic incident. And we want to come with trained chaplains, vetted chaplains who have a heart and a compassionate spirit and care about the people they're dealing with, including fire and police who are on scene, which is an awesome, from my first call back in Edmonds in the mid-'80s, I was hooked and have loved it ever since. And I've often told firemen if I had a chance to have a recalling, I would have been a fireman. I love the collegiality and the spirit of service and caring that comes with these people. Secondly, I want to acknowledge that we are not perfect. There are no perfect people. And we make errors, we make mistakes, and we have to deal with challenges in life. And the last 9 months, Hope Unlimited and Northwest Incident Support went through a mission drift because our focus was mainly for the initial response and the citizen care at that moment, and did not include peer support. And so we're stepping back, we're resetting, we're with these internal challenges and pruning that's been going on, and believe me, I feel it more than anybody, but we have reset to what our initial mission was, which is that first response. Moving forward, we're going to focus on that, and these next few moments, our comments are really critical. We have virtually a brand new board. By the first of the year, there will only be one of our past board on our board roster, which gave people who had served 9 and 10 years an opportunity to step away, especially through the Oso mudslide, where we were the lead chaplains and responders, and challenged with the death notification for all of the families about those who had lost their lives there.
we've had a lot of experience and a lot of years of serving, and we want to continue that legacy by moving forward with this new board, which includes 2 fire personnel people, which we felt is really important. One is a former deputy chief for Arlington Fire with many, many years of service, and the other is a current battalion chief for the District 15 Fire Department. Both of these people bring great, great insights to how our board will be structured and serve. We have 4 active chaplains presently. One is a 30-year veteran of chaplaincy. The other 3 are about 6 months into training and serving and are being sent to the twice-a-year chaplain training academy that has always been at the Criminal Justice Training Center in Burien, but now is in the Seattle Joint Training Center, Seattle Fire Joint Training Center. These 3 new chaplains have been registered for training beginning October 14th. We're reviving the Support 46 rig, which one of the commissioners served as a volunteer on, and she and her husband faithfully served, and for the past few months it has not been operational, but we are reviving Support 46, which currently sits at Station 48. Other than all of that, it's been an awesome opportunity to be here today, and I want to introduce to you a guy that I feel is going to take Hope Unlimited and Northwest Incident Support to higher and greater places. His name is Brett Reed, and Brett's over here, and come and just say a word, please, Brett, because he has the administrative skills and the heart, a pastoral heart, to make a huge difference in who we recruit for chaplains and training them. So, Brett, say a word, and thank you again for listening to me.
Okay. Well, thank you again. I don't have a lot to say other than my wife Alice and I, we live right across the street from here, actually. We raised our kids here. We recently became empty nesters. And I look forward to being a part of Northwest Incident Support and Hope Unlimited and having better communication and good communication with the firefighters, with the administration, with the commission, and having the appropriate and good expectations moving forward. So that's really all I have to say at this point. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I believe we have 4 other employee comments. Is that
That's correct.
correct? Okay.
I have down Greg Haddock, Chris Peterson, Anna Melillo, Dr. Corsa.
Yes, I'll be starting off.
Okay.
All right. So, commissioners, North County medical providers, and most importantly, the citizens we serve. My name is Dr. Joshua Corsa. I'm a medical program director delegate for this department. I've been an EMT or paramedic since 1997, a physician since 2012, and an EMS medical director since 2018. I have served this department since March of 2023. I'm here today to discuss my concerns with the state of medical care and the absence of medical leadership at North County Regional Fire Authority. I'm not here to assign blame to anyone in leadership now or in the past. Instead, I'm here to provide past context and raise the alarm about the opaque future of EMS within this organization. As way of background, in 2023, North County's EMTs and paramedics treated 10,032 patients with compassion and competence. That represents greater than 86% of our 911 responses. Put another way, more than 5 of every 6 911 responses are for EMS alone, dwarfing the number of fire responses. From a budget standpoint, EMS transports account for 19% of the department's revenue, the second largest revenue stream after property taxes, of which the EMS levy comprises another 18%. EMS accounts for more than 1/3 of the department's revenue, including grants, taxes, and transports. However, unlike fire suppression, EMS essentially funds itself, generating a significant portion of the department's revenue. Yet EMS funding accounts for only 34% of the general budget to fire suppression's 36%, with more than $1 million of excess funds in the most recent budget. More concerning than the funding gap is the continued failure of this department to find a new EMS chief. 2 failed hiring processes, neither advertised through traditional channels, yielded 2 candidates, of which only one would have fit our needs. While I'm expected to work side by side with this new EMS chief, I was not included in the hiring process, a decision well outside the standard hiring practices. We've now been without formal EMS leadership for 6 months, and I'm told it will be at least 9 months minimum before a new EMS chief is brought on board. The failure to find an EMS chief is a symptom of a broader problem. I noted on my arrival last March the lack of a quality improvement program, the lack of an onboarding process for our numerous new EMTs and paramedics, and a lack of an EMS training schedule. These processes should have been in place many years ago. Yet a year and a half later, none of these programs have been enacted. To begin the change process, we drafted a quality improvement plan in May, which is still awaiting implementation. The truth is, with no EMS chief and now only one MSO, nobody is left to operationalize any of the plans we devise. Many members of this department, including myself, have gone above and beyond our contractual duties to keep the department functioning. I do it because I love the job and the medics I support. My continued dedication to them will not change, but we cannot do so without support. While I pore over charts, provide follow-up, and counsel EMTs and paramedics, I lack any authority to follow up that action. My only power is the power of persuasion. Without a chief of EMS, I cannot implement performance improvement plans, correct adverse trends in patient care, or operationalize any quality improvement programs as mentioned before. Let me be very clear. The problem will not be solved by hiring an EMS chief. The problem will only begin to be solved when the department decides that emergency medical care is as important as fire suppression. This means an EMS chief, a dedicated EMS captain of training and quality, and MSOs are allowed to function as MSOs without the burden of additional duties and tasks unrelated to EMS. There is no department this size in our region with a similarly understaffed EMS division. A lone EMS chief is appropriate for a department of 30 people that responds to 3,000 to 5,000 calls a year, not a department of more than 120 medical responders that responds to more than 10,000 calls a year. I raised this concern with leadership approximately 6 months ago and was told an EMS captain was both reasonable and feasible. I've heard nothing since. This department is fortunate to have some of the best paramedics available within its ranks. I should know, I've been doing this for 27 years. I'm constantly amazed by their dedication, their technical mastery, and their intellect. But we are at danger and risk of losing them to other agencies. And the ones that will leave will be our best performers. The ones that desire and deserve a system that nurtures their professional growth. They have stayed because they believe in this department, but they will not stay forever. Our EMTs and paramedics currently succeed despite this department, not because of it. The more than 120 EMTs and paramedics and the more than 40,000 citizens and visitors in our district deserve better. You and your families deserve better. I beg you, please fill the EMS chief position immediately, fund and fill an EMS captain position, allow our MSOs to focus on medicine, and give our providers the support they need and the citizens the care they deserve. Thank you for your time. I'm always available by phone, email, or in person with questions.
Good afternoon. Try to use my mom voice here. My name is Anna Malillo, again, a firefighter paramedic here on behalf of myself and many of the people in the room and on YouTube who are greatly concerned about the state of the EMS system in our fire department. Now I can imagine to some of you, if not all of you, you see us coming up here and it seems like we're just complaining about yet another thing. And the fact of the matter is we're doing our best to provide a service that your taxpayers elected you to, or for us to do. And it has become an environment that is making it very difficult to do so. That's not us complaining. That is us noticing a problem, watching it get worse, trying to step up and fix it ourselves, but being unsuccessful because we don't have the structure for it, saying something at maybe a lower level of the command structure and seeing nothing change. This is us stepping out of our comfort zones, coming out here in front of elected officials, our administration, on a public forum that's on YouTube. This is us risking changes in attitudes and perhaps treatment towards us, and possibly putting our future career trajectory at stake. We don't want to be up here. We don't want to have to go to this level to point out an issue that we believe has gotten so bad that it's literally the only way that we can bring it to light. And we've done this before, and no one ever follows up with us. Nobody asks questions in the meetings. No one wants to know more information. It's just, thank you, next item on the agenda. And then nothing changes. So we come back, and we try to say it differently. And the same thing happens, and the cycle continues. So it's incredibly concerning to me because it seems an awful lot like what we have to say, what 95-ish% of the people that you employ has to say, is falling on deaf ears. We keep coming up here, though, because we care. I absolutely love this job, and I am honored to work for this community. And I think we all feel the same way. And I want to be the best medic that there is to show up at your door when you're sick and you need help. And I feel like that's what the taxpayers want, and that's what they expect. And there's only one way that I can do that, and there's only one way that we can do that, and that's to work in an environment where there's oversight. Why is it that a new medic like myself at this department currently has no supervisor, and the first person in the chain of command that I can talk to, or that they can talk to, is our MPD? And it's not just new medics, it's the same for 110, 120 people in the EMS division. And while Dr. Corsa is selfless enough to answer his phone when we call him, that is not his job. And to hear that our administration sent a letter to the county EMS system stating that he's not doing his job adequately completely blows our minds. He's already doing so much more than he's even supposed to be doing, just trying to limp our system along because he cares. And I wonder if the commission is aware that when we had the EMS chief position filled with a quality candidate, the KPIs, or key performance indicators, which are basically just like data that indicate how well a program is doing or how well we're performing in the field, or the health of the program. When we had that quality candidate in that role, our percentages were higher. Essentially, we were doing better on calls. And since we haven't had that position filled, those numbers have gone down. It's not because we aren't trying to do our best, but if I screw something up in the field, there's no one that's going to tell me I did something wrong. There's no training, there's no oversight. Who is responsible for that right now? Nobody. We need training. The on-duty MSO position is not capable, nor should they be, of organizing, implementing, tracking, and following the training for 110 employees, while also expected to run calls, do their own mandatory training. This is a position that almost every other department out there has a daytime position for. The same is true for other MSO positions. So basically what I'm saying is we need quality leadership and some sort of system to maintain the 86% of the work that we perform. I don't feel like we're asking for the moon here. I don't think we're trying to reinvent the wheel. We're asking you to care enough that you prioritize at least to get us to the bare minimum. Part of the reason that we are in this position is because the EMS chief role remains unfilled. Some of the reason that has happened is because our offer doesn't seem to be competitive to other comparable departments' EMS chiefs. For example, some just brief, simple comparables. Marysville has a battalion chief MSA and shift MSOs, and that MSA there makes about $174,000 a year. Their MSOs make $143,000 a year. Tulalip Bay has an assistant chief of EMS who makes $195,000 a year for less people, overseeing less people. Graham Fire is a very similar department. They are farther away, but they're very similar to everything that we do. They have an assistant chief of EMS, a shift EMS captain, and 3 shift MSOs, and that assistant chief makes $196,000 a year. So what did we offer to be competitive? Well, you know what it was. Our second offer was $152,000 a year, which is less than what a BC here makes. The person offered the job was also told he would lose 2 weeks of vacation and 48 hours of sick time from his current yearly accruals. Some of the minimum benefits that even a probationary firefighter in this fire department get, he was denied. So my question to you is this: why are we striving for the bare minimum? This is an extremely important role, and you're looking for the cheapest bidder. And the 6 or so months that this position has been vacant is evidence of that. Do you not want a quality candidate to take over this role for our department? And most importantly, do you really think this is what our citizens want? The situation has reached a level to where I and we have to make comments on public record just so the public is aware of it. But I would like to take this moment to assure the public that we, as your union fire department employees, are not just going to sit back and continue to let it happen. We will continue to fight and come out here and fight for what you, as our citizens, deserve. So again, I will, invite the commission, if you have questions, to dig into these details further. We have a lot more information, just don't want to take up the whole night. But you can come talk to me, Dr. Corsa, pretty much anybody you see here. Thank you for your time.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Peterson. I am a firefighter, EMT, IV technician, ladder driver operator, and a rescue swimmer. I have served this area for over 12 years. I'm also a general contractor on my days off. I believe this is the part where people normally say, I'm happy to be here. I'm not happy to be up here. I do not enjoy doing things like this. I'm better at hitting things with a hammer than I am at public speaking. But here I am, because I believe this to be necessary. Over the past few years, this agency has lost Joel Smith, Chris Dickinson, Julie Boyer, Xander Wiffenden, and Kaylee Mizell, amongst others. And now, Dr. Corsa is in the crosshairs. Dr. Corsa, in my opinion, is far and away the best MPD that we have ever had. This is not hyperbole, this is the absolute truth. Over the course of my 12-year fire service career and 24-year career in the construction industry, these are some of the most skillful, knowledgeable, and dedicated individuals that I have had the pleasure of working with. And now, with the exception of Dr. Corsa, they are all gone. I think it's time that this leadership try to stop blaming others, look itself in the mirror, and come to the realization that maybe it is the problem. How many more good people are we going to lose? I've sat through my share of commission meetings as of late. This commission sits here and talks about how wonderful things are, and in reality, they are not. Morale is now as low as I have ever seen. If you would like to know why, I would encourage all of you to come out to the stations and ride with your firefighters. Many people are too afraid to come up here and tell it like it is. This is due to fear of retribution, but the time for staying quiet and hoping that things get better is over. Thanks.
I believe that's it, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your comments. The next item on the agenda is the IAFF Local 3438 report. Do we have a report?
Sure do.
Oh, thank you.
Hello, Madam Chair. Hello, Commissioners. Seems like every time I get my laptop out, things get a little uncomfortable, so let's all buckle up for this ride. My name's Kirk Norman. I'm the Political Action Chair with Local 3438. I want to thank the Commission for taking the time to hear us today. As you heard from Dr. Corsa, the EMS division in our agency is in disarray. Your paramedics and EMTs have been left with no leadership or guidance for months and have been scrambling to perform chief officer work in addition to their own duties. As you saw in your email from your shift MSOs, they have reached their breaking point and cannot continue in this fashion. They have resigned, no longer willing to shore up the poor decisions made by management and Chief Cermak, and have asked you commissioners directly to solve this problem. Management has indicated that the MSA position, which is currently vacant, will not be filled until the end of the beginning of 2025, leaving a division that represents 86% of your call volume with no leadership or oversight. And until that position is filled, our department has no EMS training plan, no internal quality control, and no day-to-day management of the foundational tasks associated with EMS. This lack of leadership and support, however, is not isolated to EMS. It is pervasive throughout the agency, with multiple members operating well outside the normal standards of their classification and without necessary support staff. While our EMS division remains completely bereft of leadership, our training division, fire prevention division, and even our special operations groups are dramatically understaffed or being operated by captains outside of their normal rank structure. We as an agency are not operating in a manner consistent with an entity this size, and this is not a sustainable model. We do not offer competitive compensation packages for nearly any position, and it is the primary reason that our EMS leadership positions remain vacant. As you heard before, the most qualified candidate we had rejected the offer due to the lack of competitive nature of both the wages and the benefits. Our EMS division and the MSA hiring process highlight what appears to be mismanagement of this department. Chief Cermak calling Dr. K, the county medical program director, to shift accountability away from our own leadership and ask for assistance from Snohomish County EMS is wildly inappropriate as a solution. We should be solving these problems internally with our own candidates in a competitive hiring process. Instead of emphasizing leadership and support for operations, which is the primary goal of this entity, is to support the public and provide operational call response, we have seen a constant emphasis from Chief on the training center. A training center that is to date over budget and underperforming. After all income considered, our training center is losing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, with many promised partner contracts never materializing, and our largest customer with the Snohomish County Training Academy openly talking about withdrawing due to cost overruns. The promise of financial solvency is dubious at best. Using the Field of Dreams analogy, we built it hoping they would come, and I'm telling you right now, they have not come. We are financially handcuffed to a debt service with no end in sight to massive yearly deficits. In the words of Dr. Corsa, this EMS division, the crux of this conversation today, is succeeding in spite of our leadership, not because of it. Your firefighters are scrambling and working as hard as they can to shore up the lack of leadership and support, doing the work of absent chief officers and other critical missing positions. Positions that would be occupied if the administration prioritized operations and support. Our chief often refers to the agency with terms like world-class and tip of the spear. I operate with these people in the field, and I can tell you their drive, their motivation, and their training are top-notch. But the administrative goals do not represent an agency that would be regarded as world-class. As we said before, our success is in spite of the support network that we receive. Local 3438, your union firefighters and paramedics, are asking you, the commission, to refocus our energy and our taxpayers' dollars on actually providing compassionate service to our community. That starts with immediately re-engaging in a competitive hiring process for the MSA position to support your EMTs and paramedics. I'm here for any questions. All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your report. We appreciate it. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. So may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. We're now going to move into executive session to discuss labor negotiations pursuant to RCW 42.30.140.4A. Do we have any idea how long we will need?
30 minutes, please.
30 minutes? Okay, we'll go for 30 minutes.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. We'll call the meeting to order then.
Commissioner Kelly had to leave. So, okay.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Thank you. And the next item on our agenda is a motion for the approval of the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion.
So moved.
It's hard for me to hear for some reason. I can only hear.
Commissioner,
moved.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. We'll move on. The next item is the quarterly division presentation. It's the 2024 Q2 CARES report presented by Matt Hickman.
Good afternoon, good evening, commissioners. I know it's been a long meeting for you so far, so I'll try to keep this as succinct as possible. While she is pulling that up, this quarter we're going to go over one of the programs that exists within the CARES program, rolled out this year, called our CORE program. And I think I'm going to follow suit similarly through my quarterly reports for the rest of the year, kind of highlighting different parts. So in the coming quarters, you can expect, just kind of a deep dive on perhaps like how we deal with high system utilizers and strategies that we mitigate to those. We'll kind of focus in on some of the more granular parts of the CARES program as we move forward. But for this evening, I'm really excited to talk about our CORE program, which stands for Coordinated Opioid Response by EMS. And we can go to the next slide. One slide back, yeah. So I think it's good to kind of set the stage a little bit and tell you guys why we are here and why we have a CORE program in the first place and why we decided to engage in this work. The opioid crisis in Snohomish County has not gotten better, as you guys are very well aware of. And the statistics and numbers are actually quite sobering. So between 2017 and 2023, we've doubled the amount of overdose-related deaths, specifically to opioids in Snohomish County. And these numbers are continuing to climb, so we're not really seeing this crisis get any better. You see the occasional ebb and flow of numbers given a fentanyl batch that comes into our community and disappears, but largely that trend is going up. And the interesting thing is, although EMS providers in this agency and regionally and EMS industry generally encounters opioid use disorder and folks that suffer an opioid overdose, our treatments have always been reactive. And that's been a problem. So I'm going to go through how we would respond, we'll go to our next slide here, to an opioid overdose a couple of years ago, and then compare and contrast what the CORE program can do about that. So our historical response by EMS to the opioid crisis is that we respond to that overdose after it's occurred, right? So it's reactive. We make our best attempt to reverse this overdose using the tools that we have. So perhaps bagging the patient, breathing for them, providing them Narcan. And sometimes it works, and unfortunately, due to those statistics that I was talking about, sometimes it doesn't. The vast majority of the time, if we resuscitate a patient and they wake up, so we put Narcan into their nose, we breathe for them, and a few minutes later they wake up, they say, hey, thanks, but no thanks, I don't need any help, I'm going to head on down the road. And this is a huge problem because once you've been resuscitated after using Narcan, you are in a very, very sorry state. So this withdrawal state is extremely uncomfortable. We're talking aches, pains, nausea, vomiting. It's a really, really uncomfortable state to be in. And really, this is how we left these individuals up until recently. And this experience is mechanical. It often lacks compassion. When you think about it from an EMS provider standpoint as well, it leaves us feeling like we're not able to do anything either, and that can really start to grate on you and add up to things like burnout and some of the things that we see on a regular basis. So expecting anything other than a recurrent overdose based on how we historically have responded to opioid overdose is insane. You would expect them to go, I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to fix this with more opioids, and that is what they would do. So we would see the same repeat offenders over and over again. So the same people that use again Unfortunately, we'd come out and sometimes they'd pass away on follow-up calls. And we have seen that. You know, the EMS providers that are watching right now have probably experienced that personally. So we'll go to the next slide. So what is our response to this? Our response to this, again, is called our CORE program, Coordinated Opioid Response by EMS. This is an extension, so this lives within the CARES program, and the goal is to offer options and coordinate connections for those suffering from opioid use disorder. So again, proactive instead of reactive. The elements of this are our Narcan Leave Behind program, a new medication that we can offer individuals for opioid use disorder. And then the secret sauce here is going to be this coordination with several outpatient treatment providers that we have developed partnerships with in the community. And why this lives in the CARES program is we are able to, because we already have the infrastructure of the CARES program, Christina and myself already do the care coordination. We can follow up with these individuals and make sure that they follow up with the treatment recommendations and the care that we've connected with them originally. And we're gonna talk about a few of these. No, you're good. That's perfect. We're gonna talk about a few of these components of the CORES program one by one. So the Narcan Leave Behind program, this is active right now, and it has been active in your department since the beginning of the year, and it is exactly what it sounds like. On all North County aid cars and paramedic units now, we have Leave Behind Narcan, which lives in our CARES kits, as you guys can see up there. Our providers have been empowered to educate either family members of those suffering from opioid use disorder or people that have it on how to use Narcan. And I can tell you one of my favorite stories from this is recently, a couple of months ago, we had a crew that responded to an overdose response. Narcan was given prior to their arrival, and it was one of our Narcan that we had left before on a previous response. So we're already seeing the Narcan Leave Behind work, and this is the very first sort of foundational piece to the CORE program. Some of the other elements, and we can go to the next slide, is a medication called buprenorphine. So our delegate physician, Dr. Josh Corsa, approached me very close to when he started last year and said, I have an idea. I would like to bring buprenorphine to the paramedics here at North County. Well, that idea grew some legs, and since then, his pilot program, which was originally designated just for North County Fire, has gone countywide. And so we now have 3 departments, so Everett Fire, South County Fire, and North County Fire, that have rolled out concurrently the use of buprenorphine by paramedics in their organizations. South County had the first buprenorphine induction just a couple of weeks ago, and we are all kind of on the same page, all working off the same core protocol that myself and Dr. Corsa developed over the last year and a half. And so we basically brought this to them, developed a work group, and over the course of about a year, cemented. And there are regional variations for each department, right? Each department kind of rolls out their own version of it, but heavily involved in the CORE program. And that's what it's called, you know, at the county level as well. You'll see South County's CORE program is very similar to ours, right? So we're really excited about this. This medication, buprenorphine, let's kind of take it back to that individual that we've resuscitated from an opioid overdose. They're uncomfortable. They're feeling like they're in that withdrawal state. Buprenorphine is a medication that's called a partial opioid agonist, which means it acts very similar to an opioid. And the benefit of it is that it doesn't have any of those deleterious effects, such as respiratory depression, euphoria, and a lot of the other things that people take these drugs for. So you get all of the benefit. The people don't feel like they're in withdrawal, and it's actually very, very much proven to reduce cravings and withdrawal symptoms and get that person to that follow-up treatment that we have. This is a medication that I carry on my rig, CRP-48. You guys have seen in some of my previous quarterly reports me with my big smile in front of the CRP-48. Well, we have it now. The goal is to expand this to line paramedics in the future, but that's going to take, some infrastructure and staffing changes in the future. So we'll just we'll start here, dip our toe in the water, get a really good idea of how the CORE program works for this department, and hopefully going to expand this in the future. Now, the ultimate goal after a buprenorphine induction is to perform a warm handoff. And so I want to walk through what the program flow looks like for you guys, and so you can kind of see what the core program would look like in action. Essentially, EMS personnel are going to respond to an opioid overdose and provide care in line with Snohomish County protocol. So that would be Narcan and bag valve mask ventilation. And myself and Christina and Dr. Corsa, when he's around, are going to add ourselves to the calls that we see are suspected opioid overdoses, right? So the CARES team is now going to be added to these calls, not in an emergent fashion, but again, to provide the elements of the core program. If the patient refuses transport, one of the benefits of this is we can actually release crews to go back into service, get fire engines and ambulances back in service, and the CARES team is going to remain on scene with this individual. And the focus is going to be on something called shared decision making. This concept is, I'm not going to tell you what's good for you because we have really, really good evidence-based information to tell us that that does not work. I am going to share evidence-based information with you. I'm going to dispel myths about MOUD, so medications for opioid use disorder. And I'm going to help connect you, if you're interested, to treatment options in the community. And we can go to the next slide now. So this general idea is myself or Christina or the core program is we are subject matter experts in the treatment options available to you in this community, and we're going to reduce the friction between here and getting you to there. This could involve driving them to any one of our treatment partners. This could involve picking up their prescription. It could involve any of the normal care coordination activities that we have. I guarantee you that is Alan. We've got some heavy power lifters, and we know who's on shift today. So we love you, Alan. So the warm handoff here, if this person does choose to engage with buprenorphine, I will actually provide them this medication. I will stay on scene with them for up to 45 minutes to an hour, provide follow-up doses, and actually literally drive them to the treatment partners that we have set up. The real goal here is to walk with them through those first few days of treatment and hopefully prevent a relapse and have them recover from opioid use disorder. We'll go to our next slide here. So some key roles and partners here. Again, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Dr. Corsa for bringing this to me. The core program would not exist without him, and he provides core program medical direction and oversight. The firefighters and paramedics here at North County are going to identify patients eligible for this program, so those that they encounter during the course of an opioid overdose, and activate the CARES team when we're available. And then again, that CARES team, this program lives within our CARES program, and the follow-up care is going to be provided by us. I wanted to tell you a few of the partners that I talked about that we have developed relationships with in the community. So Ideal Option is one of them, and this is a outpatient provider of medications for opioid use disorder. You can kind of think of them as a continuation of the buprenorphine program that we've started. So that's that warm handoff piece. I will drive, or one of our CARES members will drive this patient to there, and there will actually be a, hey, kind of like when we drive someone to the hospital. Here's what we're dealing with. Here's what's going on. Here's what we're interested in. And the kind of thing that I'm most excited about is that we have a direct line to intake, and the CARES team, specifically the core program, has kind of prioritized spacing for our clients to get into Ideal Option. So if it's near the end of the day, they'll kind of move heaven and earth for us, is the way they've described it. And that's the way it worked for the first buprenorphine induction down in South County as well. We'll go to our next one. This is a very cool facility, actually right here at our first due service area. I would absolutely butcher trying to say the name, but it is the Healing Center. It offers comprehensive services. Importantly, it offers methadone as well. And one of the things I want to hone in on with you guys is that one of the key components and I guess one of the aspects that's going to make someone most successful when we consider them coming out on the other side recovered is options, right? Not telling them that buprenorphine works, not telling them that methadone works, not telling them that abstinence works, giving them options and letting them kind of choose their own path. That has shown to be the most effective.
Where is that located? Excuse me.
Yeah. So that's located right on 172nd Street behind Walker's Coffee. So basically the corner of 59th and 172nd.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, it's
right.
an absolutely beautiful facility if you guys have a chance to walk through it. It's the Stille Tribe is the one who funds it, and they are a stem to stern program that provides transportation to and from, counseling, primary care. If you're suffering from opioid use disorder, this is really the place to go. And importantly, they accept everyone, right? So all insurances, anyone who comes through their door, they'll help. And we'll look at that last slide there. And then for our on-house population, the Snohomish County Diversion Center offers a 44-bed facility for men and women. This is essentially the best way to kind of think about the diversion center is folks that are engaging in substance use disorder treatment can have a safe place to do so, and it has been shown to be very effective for our on-house population as well. We wanted to make sure that we didn't discount that population and had a line for this, and so we do through the Scout program, which is one of the other programs that exist in our community. I think that should be it. Next slide here. Yeah. This is a recent picture of me with Stillaguamish PD. We had the opportunity over the summer to provide all their officers with CPR and first aid classes. So that was a very good time, and we'll be kind of continuing that partnership into the future. And that's kind of a little bit of a sneak peek into what probably in the coming quarterly reports you're going to hear from us is some of the public education that the CARES program done as well. So I am all ears for any questions you guys have about our core
A
program.
couple of quick things. On the response team, what do they go through initially there to try to determine what type of overdose they're even looking at?
Yeah, so I'm taking the question to mean for the providers that respond to the call, how do they ascertain that it's an opioid overdose?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So typically you're going to use context clues, first of all. So, after pattern recognition going on many calls, we kind of know what we see. But an opioid overdose is typically going to be someone who is non-responsive. They'll oftentimes have pinpoint pupils.
Okay.
And they'll have what's called respiratory depression, which means they're breathing very, very slowly and very, very shallowly. And so if you take these kind of symptoms and you put them all together, our crews have done this enough where they walk in and they go, that's probably an opioid overdose. And it's usually confirmed by providing the Narcan, because the Narcan is diagnostic, meaning if I were to give you Narcan right now, Commissioner Johnson, nothing would happen at all. But if I give someone who's suffering a narcotic overdose or an opioid overdose Narcan, they will wake up. And so we have our proof is in the pudding, right? It is a narcotic overdose because Narcan only does one thing in the world, and that is to reverse opioid overdose. So that's how it's characterized.
Does that work with
They never overdose.
methamphetamine overdose?
It does not. There's no equivalent medication like Narcan for methamphetamine. Yeah, it's only for opioids, and it's one of the only true antidotes in medicine, actually.
I've heard, not scientific, but secondary evidence from other EMTs that methamphetamine is having a comeback instead of just fentanyl and other opioids. So have you seen that recently?
We have. So mixing of illicit drugs is very common, and it can be very difficult for our EMS providers to kind of tease out what is what. Sometimes we'll have a partial effect from the Narcan, which suggests that there's other drugs on board as well. And one of the other trends that we've seen is, I would say 10 to 15 years ago, most of the overdoses our providers were seeing in the Arlington and Stanwood area were heroin, a lot of heroin overdose. I rarely see a heroin overdose anymore. It's almost always fentanyl now. I think we're at like 98 or 99% fentanyl overdoses.
Smoking it still.
Yeah, any and all. So any of the routes, but really commonly, from what I understand, those blue lookalike pills, any of those routes that you suggested, smoking, injecting, or snorting are all ways to do it. So, yeah. And unfortunately, like I said at the top of our talk today, we're not gaining any ground. And so I think it's incumbent upon us as a fire department to respond to community needs and look like, hey, this is a problem, and be agile and be able to respond to that. So I'm proud of the work that the CARES program is doing.
So Matt sort of teed up something I was gonna share, but I'll share right now. Monday evening at the Arlington Council, firefighter Hillary and Hale were recognized with the Arlington Police Department for exactly this. And one of the gentlemen actually said that he took his normal drug, and as soon as he took his normal drug, he felt something different and knew it was bad. And he said it changed his life, and it was just truly moving. And it ended up that one of the council members actually had this young man as a foster child. Deborah Nelson had him as a foster child. So, I thought it was her. Okay, so it was her parents that had him. But it was just a very moving piece where both the gentlemen there that were brothers, both had similar experiences with opioid type overdoses, fentanyl, whatever, and both of them have had life-changing events because of what they said was our crews going on scene. So it was pretty moving. You were there, and it was pretty special. And this buprenorphine program, I couldn't even say it 3 months ago when I told you guys about it.
I have to practice in the mirror a lot where I say buprenorphine.
But just truly a great job of putting together a program that I got a call from Dr. Kane when they first did it, that she said that this is truly the only thing that's ever moved. The buprenorphine program has moved the dial to a 50%, correct me if I'm wrong, change rate of people being addicted to opioids.
Yeah, I didn't know that number. I am certainly very optimistic about what we may see, but I think, to echo what you said, from a fire department standpoint, our answer just can't be, good luck, and no longer is it. So that's what I'm most excited about. In the coming years and months, we're really going to see how effective this is, and so that remains to be seen. We'll be doing what we do with everything else in the program, which is tracking the data. So, yeah, I'd be interested to hear that number. Yeah.
Maybe I misinterpreted it, but I took it as a very high success ratio.
Yeah.
Matt, that was great information. Thanks for that presentation.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. I don't believe we have any unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. And we have our August financial report presented by Finance Director Randy Crum.
Great. Thank you, Chairperson. For you have your 2024 August financial report. It's also up on the screen. Starting with page 3 are cash investments. As we slowly draw down each month, we spend anywhere from about 1.2 to 1.4 a month in payroll and expenses outside of other non-regular expenses like construction type stuff. So you'll see we're down this end of August. We're at 10.7 million. The exciting part for me is the property taxes will start coming in here soon. So I'd like to see that. The next page you'll see just the trend line, and as it's coming down from the high in May of 14 million. And then next is just the general fund summary. 8 months through the year, 8/12 is obviously 2/3 of the year, so we're shooting for 66% on everything. You see total current revenues, we're at 60, which makes sense though because the property taxes are twice a year, so we're coming up on that distribution. So total resources available, we're at 66, or boom, right on target there. If we drop down to expenses, you'll see total current expenses for all divisions, we're at 62, so we're 4% under where we would be just on a monthly spend rate. Only one department, or maybe a couple, are slightly over, just for various reasons. Facilities is the biggest vendor at this point. We've just done more maintenance or had more repairs needed than anticipated, so not like anyone's out of control and spending wildly. We just have to pay the bills to keep the buildings and facilities looking good, and Doug's on top of that and watches every penny diligently, so we thank him for that. The next page are transport revenues. I've been kind of singing the song all year that we were behind on our GMT. We finally had a great month, 324,000. So I don't know where the logjam was with systems design or GMT people at the state level. I don't know, but finally we had it come through and had a really good month. So now we're actually projected, if it continued through the rest of the year with the same average, of being over our expected amount by 168,000. Transports still stay pretty regular and consistent. So if that continues through the rest of the year, we have an additional 332,000 over our budget. So combined, we're on track at this point to be about 500,000 over in our transport revenue. So that's a good thing, and we may even see a GMT true up before the year ends as well. Normally we see that in May, June at the latest. So they're a little slow at the state level dealing with those. On the next page, you'll see our wage and overtime projections. We continue to be under budget a little bit on wages. We've had a position or two unfilled and for several months, so that would obviously give us some savings. I don't think we'll end up quite at the 900 level that shows there because now we're starting to fill some of those for the rest of the year. We dropped down. We have been under budget on overtime throughout the year. But we knew coming into summer we'd have a lot of MOB backfill. We have a lot of vacations. We have individuals on leave for different medical and family situations. So you'll see it did jump quite a bit from July to August, back up towards our budget amount. So we'll see. We probably should end up right at around budget at this forecasted moment. So all combined, best case would be maybe the million under budget, but as I said, we'll start using those up and we have more overtime to account for. So that number will not be that great by the end of the year, but still we're on the positive side of it. So that's all good. The only other thing to report, my department is we're working on budget. So this next month we'll be having a workshop with the board and kind of go over some things, what we recommend, and see if you agree for next year's budget. It's a little difficult since we are in the middle of the CBA negotiations to know exactly what to forecast for, but we'll do our best and plan ahead for that. I thought we'd have the auditors here and do an extra conference by this time, but they still haven't released their final report, so they're busy, I guess. But anticipate them hopefully this next meeting, so we'll get that wrapped up and finally be done with 2021 and 2022. So. Luckily, they only come every 2 years, so we won't see them again until probably December of next year. So that concludes my report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Okay, seeing none, I'll turn it back over. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy. The next item on the agenda is the chief's report.
Thank you, Commissioners. I worked on costing and depreciation items tasked by the Fire Chiefs Training Consortium for the training center, and we received a grant from Tulalip Tribes from the Casino Impact Fee funds. We thank them. This is the first time in 10 years of submissions. Chief Tenopen had put in and applied for funds to go towards an ambulance replacement and costs for the increased call volumes caused by the casino impacts, and this is the first time we've ever received funds from the Tulalip Tribe, so that's a positive note. The levy committee had its first meeting with Liz Loomis and her team. She set the schedule and the plan for kickoff. Thank you to the committee that attended that, and the training consortium chiefs had a special meeting to discuss recruit academies and expectations. Chief Eastman and Chief DeMarco, I believe, met with the key academy staff to seek to understand future direction and outcomes of the academy and expectations, and maybe aligning the training chiefs with the consortium training cadre. The Snohomish Chiefs Association met for a special meeting to discuss the future Snohomish County EMS ILA, and that's what we saw the presentation from and regarding. There were three options. each more expensive than what we currently are paying for our services, but that system too has more than doubled since its inception in size of the whole county, from what they started at 400,000 people serving, and they're over 800,000 or 900,000 now. So there is going to be an increase and a reorganization likely, and we have three options to choose from. And I'll have a staff report, I think, for one of the next couple of upcoming meetings, depending on what the outcomes are from that meeting. There's a vote as to whether we choose option A, option B, or option C. And then work continues on negotiations of the collective bargaining agreement. Allison has put an inordinate amount of time into getting ready for tonight, or for our next meeting, but for the presentation with you guys. I received a communication and forwarded it to you regarding Fire District 21, Fire Chief Schmidt request for proposal for placing paramedics inside their fire station in 2025. I'll have a proposed contract for you next executive session meeting, because other agencies will be bidding for it. I provided you a draft individually, just to get your minds around it. I meet labor management on Monday. There will be implications that they would need to I would assume, to bargain the impacts of what that means to them if we put the paramedics that they're requesting to go into those stations, that they would want input into that. So the draft that I've put together so far, that's a working copy that I've only been working on for the last day and a half. I just got it. Will likely change, but there's some numbers in there for you to absorb and think about. And then I already recognized firefighter Hillary and Hale for a job well done, and taking a very difficult situation and making it a great one. So that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Thank you.
I have a
Question?
I have a question on the meeting for the Snohomish County Fire Training Academy. They're talking together. Are they talking about not using it anymore, or?
That was the first that I have heard. What they have asked of me is to break down. There's some overages that have caused the cost per student to go up, but those overages are obviously cost per student goes up when there's lesser students for the cost of our facility, but there's also shadow instructors that have driven the cost per student up, and that's one of the things that they're talking about with the cadre up there. But that's first news to me that they're not using us up there anymore.
Okay.
Excuse me, Chief, I was just going to mention that I subscribe to the Skagit Valley Herald because I have an office in Mount Vernon and I grew up in the valley up there. But I noticed that there's some discussion very recently among fire departments in Anacortes, Mount Vernon, Burlington, Cedar Woolley, and police departments about some sort of metro type training center that would be police and fire. And I just wanted to make sure that we have reached out to them to let them know what already exists for training equipment, so that they're not, covering the same ground that we already have, that we may have available for them on that. There's obviously some more things that maybe Skagit County and Whatcom County can do up in that area for police, certainly, and maybe fire, I don't know. But I'm just saying, I just want to make sure that they're aware of accessibility down here. under
They
certain
may have taken
circumstances.
our idea and taken it up there, because we have met about with each of them 2 or 3 times in discussion of what we have at our facility. And
Okay.
I think we're all challenged with the same thing. We have training mandates and requirements that we have to do and maintain, and know where to do them. So that's a challenge across the entire area. So that being said, I think they're looking at a potential to do somewhat of the same thing as what we've done here.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No other questions? We'll move on to board discussion and commissioner reports. We have anyone that would like to report?
I was gonna bring up something and realized that it needs to be an executive session, and we had talked and I said we could do it the next meeting, but I'm not gonna be here and I want to be here. It's when Al and I went around to all the different fire stations and gathered information, and he said some of them we can't discuss in an open forum, it needs to be executive session. So I'm holding off on presenting that, and sadly it's gonna be a month because I really would like to be here in person versus doing it Zoom.
Okay.
And I just wanted to thank Matt Hickman for his report tonight. Thank you and for all the work you do.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's appreciated.
I apologize, but I cannot hear what.
Well, her mic was.
Sorry, my microphone was off. What I was just saying is, Al and I had gone around to all the fire stations, and we have a list of issues that the firefighters brought up, and it needs to be discussed in an executive session. And tonight, since ours went so long, we weren't going to do it in tonight's session, and I'm just saying, let's do it a month from now, because I'm going to be Zooming the next meeting, and I want to be here when we discuss it.
That's fine.
And I do have the list, and you'll get the list.
I believe that's it, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I apologize, I just was not able to hear much of that. So with that, we'll move on to the next item, which is the good of the order. Does anyone have anything to comment there? I don't hear anyone, so I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.